Good morning and welcome to Southeastern 14 basketball power rankings. Guys, we're a month out from tournaments. We're excited. Max is back. Max, you know what I figured out? I don't know that I can figure out power rankings around here, but what I figured out is when you leave, it all falls apart. Blake can't even get on screen. He's doing shows from his toilet with audio only. I mean, it was a mess when you were out last week. You're the guy that apparently holds us all together.
Every team needs a glue
just
guy.
thrashes everybody in fantasy basketball. There's also that. You didn't get your victory lap last week, so there you go.
Every team needs a glue guy. Every team needs a little bit of bully ball. We're back. We're back.
We are back. Well, a reminder, like storing it all up. I can just see the look on his face. We are brought to you by BetOnline, which continues to be your number one source for all your basketball wagering needs, including pro and college hoops throughout the year. With up-to-the-minute odds, stats, and trends, you can follow your favorite team's path to the playoffs with live in-game betting, contests, and all the best player props. Experience the world's best wagering platform anytime from your desktop or mobile devices. Head to BetOnline today. Become part of the team. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. Power rankings start at the bottom. I don't even know who's 14 right now, but Blake does. Blake, let's reveal number 14. Missouri. Okay, so you got outvoted on that. It's a Missouri-Vandy battle. Missouri still winless, although had a close call in Oxford. Sean East is back. Vandy was dreadful this weekend. They're 13. I'll just go ahead and spoil the reveal. In any comments, Blake Lovell?
Yes, I did get outvoted on that. And as I've said before, contractually, I cannot vote Missouri 14th. So make all the jokes you want. I will never vote them 14th. I don't care if they go winless. They'll always be 13th in my mind, in my heart. So number one, actually, in that power ranking. But listen, they didn't have Sean East for a long time. Those games were just blowouts when they didn't have Sean East. We said they got to have him to have a chance to win. They had a double-digit lead at Missouri in the second half, midway through almost. And again, it's just the same story. But they've been close in games that they have Sean East, and they got 6 more to try to find one somewhere. They get Ole Miss, the rematch at home. Tennessee and Auburn at home, less pretty. They go on the road to play Arkansas. Got to go to LSU. Got to go to Florida. All I'm asking for is one win, just one somewhere. But I don't know. I don't know at this point. Vanderbilt, yeah, they got to win against Texas A&M. They got blown out at Tennessee. So they may get another win on Wednesday against Georgia. So that's all I got for these two.
Hey, Mizzou came 12 minutes, 12 quick minutes away. I believe it was Matt Morrell that spoiled that show. I think Missouri gets a win. I think they do. I'm still holding out. They got 3 home games left. Catch one against Ole Miss. They got to go to LSU and Arkansas. Could grab one there. I'm holding out. I think this Missouri squad grabs a win. But also, you can't put them ahead of Vandy in my eyes right now because Vandy did knock off A&M right after A&M clobbers Tennessee. So who knows who's going to end up 13 and 14, but don't just quit yet, Blake. I think they grab one. I think the Tigers grab one.
Yeah, for those of you interested in the first 4 SEC tournament games, or not the first 4, the opening round where we get the 11 through 14, Missouri would have to win 3 games and Vanderbilt win none to climb out of 14. So that's where things are. All right. I have not looked at the power rankings intentionally. I kind of want to react to them as we see them. I could, but I'm choosing not to. But I would be very surprised if number 12 were any team other than the intermittently competitive Arkansas Razorbacks, who were intermittently competitive on Saturday. There it is. I have nothing here.
Boy, what a way to describe a basketball team.
They are. Sometimes they show up and they're competitive.
There you go. They're 12 and 13. I got nothing else to add. Yeah, they had a chance at Mississippi State. Didn't happen. They got beat by 29 at home against Tennessee. They go to A&M on Tuesday. Possible back-to-back wins against Missouri and Vanderbilt coming up after that. So be optimistic, Arkansas fans. The season's almost over.
That's what we're looking forward to now. I thought Mekhi Mitchell's just been great. I've been saying it after like every Arkansas game, and he's the main reason why they were even close in that game against Mississippi State. But yeah, there's not much to add here. We're mid-February and they're 12-13, sub 120 in Ken Palm. So not too much to play for here. But if they do knock off Texas A&M, they could be on 3 in a row going to Kentucky and maybe just play a little bit of a spoiler. Who knows? But yeah.
All right. At number 11, again, I've not seen it yet, but I'll be surprised if this is not Georgia. Georgia and LSU have been in the 10-11 range, and we've had Georgia ahead because of recent play. But Bulldogs just keep losing, albeit close. LSU got a big win this week, and I'm going to guess LSU's 10. But what do we got here, Blake, as I keep spoiling the power rankings? Here we go.
Yeah. Well, there's number 9, number 8, number 7, number 6, number 5, number 4, number 3, number 2, number 1. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Clearly, Max needs to be running this because we see how it goes when he doesn't.
What do you mean? We do the same process, the same protocol every single time, and you just decide to spoil all of them at the same time. So let's just go ahead and give you our number 1 team while we're at it. Chris tried to convince me last week that, boy, Georgia is going to be just fine. They're never going to get in this bottom 4. I'm like, Chris, hang on a second. I said, LSU is probably going to get out of this. I said, Arkansas, as Max said a minute ago, they got a chance to go on a 3-game winning streak. Georgia can't beat anybody right now. And so I hate it for Georgia. But I think they're about to find themselves into the land where they cannot get out of this bottom 4. I don't know. This is they get Vanderbilt on Wednesday, and I'm telling you right now, that's a scary game if I'm a Georgia fan. At the Commodores, who are invincible in Memorial Gym these days. They're on a 1-game winning streak. But yeah, I don't love this final setup here for Georgia. I'm not saying they're going to go winless. But here's the remaining schedule. At Vanderbilt, home against Auburn, at LSU, home against A&M, home against Ole Miss, at Auburn. Ooh, it's going to be hard to find more than 2 wins maybe in there. So that's worrying me a little bit. Meanwhile, quickly, because I know we got to speed up on these, LSU, I'm all in on the Tigers right now. I think this is the team that's going to play the spoiler role the rest of the way. They might be the best 13-12 team I've ever seen in the history of the sport of basketball. 13-12, I think they're way better than that, and we saw why at South Carolina. They've kept games close except against Alabama and at Tennessee, which we just throw out by virtue of it being Alabama and Tennessee. And so, yeah, I know they lost by 15 in Auburn, but we're not going to count that. That's not a part of my research here because they made that close for a little while. So LSU gets 3 straight home games, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Georgia. They may win them all. They may win all 3 and just say, you know what, we're going for 10 conference wins. The Bayou Bengals are back.
I'm in also, and I've been in on this team. If you remember about a month ago, I'm saying Tyrell Ward, give this guy more minutes. Every shot he takes, it looks like it's going in. Who got their first start last game in the win against South Carolina? Mr. Tyrell Ward. Guys had double-digit points in 3 straight games. I think it's 7 of 12 from 3 in his past 3 games, over 50%. He's a sniper. I really like this LSU team. They can shoot the lights out. They've got multiple. I think they play 4 guys over 6'10", 6'10" or over. So watch out for this LSU team. Real quick on Georgia, it's so hard to grade this team because it's 4-point loss, 3-point loss, the OT loss that started the skid. It's a tough skid, and they don't look bad in all these games. They just can't close one out, and you got to close games out. So that's why LSU gets the jump, and I really like this LSU team now.
All right, Chris, hold on, Chris, hold on. We're gonna do this way, okay? We're gonna reveal 9, 8, and 7 all at the same time, just like you want to, okay? Because what we're doing, we have to speed up a little bit here. We're in a time crunch, but we're going to have debate at the top of the rankings. I already know we're going to have a lengthy debate when we get to the top. So let's just cruise through these next 3 because I think you can group them all together. Texas A&M's 9, Ole Miss is 8, Mississippi State's 7. Go where you will with those
order
teams.
I would have put them in.
All right, so you think that's the order. A&M has obviously gone down because they just lost at Vanderbilt, and they lost by 25 at Alabama. Ole Miss, they're still there. We'll talk about it in bracketology whenever we do that next. But they finally snapped the 3-game losing streak by beating Missouri, but it wasn't most impressive performance. Now they got to go to Mississippi State on Wednesday, which is tricky. Then they got South Carolina, Alabama after that. Ooh, not ideal. And then Mississippi State, as we said, they have reversed course here. Said they were going to win 3 in a row. They have. They've beaten Georgia, Missouri, Arkansas. Now they get Ole Miss at home, so a chance to get back above 500 for the Bulldogs, who were 3-6 at one point. So I think this is the right order.
Yeah, the thing I really like about Ole Miss is that even though it is a tough schedule, they have opportunities to get good wins where they need them. They're right on the bubble there. I think, Blake, you said Lunardi had them playing Gonzaga in the play-in game at the 11 game. So they'll get 2 home games, South Carolina and Alabama. If they can just grab one of those, that would go a long way for their resume. But as far as Mississippi State, I mean, they're doing this without DJ Jeffries, and you get him back, and now the rest of your games are all against top 80 KenPom teams. You don't get any games against the bottom 3 or 4 of the SEC, so you have a lot of opportunities to rack up some wins. We could actually see Mississippi State go on a bit of a run here. They get Ole Miss at home in the revenge game, then LSU away, which can be a close game, and they get Kentucky at home. It can really be a season-turning week here for Mississippi State. So these are the 3 teams I say that, man, you could really fall off a cliff or put yourself right in the tournament with these next 2 weeks here.
I'm bitterly disappointed in Texas A&M. Just when I thought that team was doing the stuff that it needed to turn the corner, whipped Tennessee. A&M gets Van Allen Lubend at Vanderbilt. Didn't see that one coming. And then just the defense, which, I mean, I get it's Alabama, but can you not give up triple digits maybe? I don't know. I've lost confidence in this team. I think that tournament resume is shaky. Good wins, but the bad losses have also really started to accumulate. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, I think you could maybe flip a coin. Ole Miss did win the head-to-head matchup, the rematch coming this week. The first one was in Starkville, where Ole Miss has been, I'm not going to say invincible, but I think they've lost once. And, yeah, I think you probably get a different result in Starkville. Like the computers have, I think KenPom's got Mississippi State 32 and Ole Miss 68. So there you go. Next up.
Oh, boy. We apologize to this fan base.
Oh, I
blame it on Chris. I blame it on Chris. I still voted them number 1. They're number 1 in my heart still.
Oh,
South
no,
Carolina.
You can't blame me for that.
Yeah, you're the reason for this.
I had them.
You had them where? Where'd you have them?
I'll look. I think I had them 5.
Okay. They're 6th. It's not act like they're 10th. I mean,
somebody voted them lower than I did.
Okay, so give me the reasoning. You voted them ahead of who?
Well, that would spoil the rest of the rankings, wouldn't it?
Okay, number 5 is Kentucky.
Okay, I voted them ahead of Kentucky because they whipped Kentucky a couple of weeks ago, and I think
so. That's the reason.
Recency matters, but it's not everything. Look at A&M.
Okay, but South Carolina just lost by 40 at Auburn, lost at home by 1 against LSU, while Kentucky just won at Auburn. And I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm trying to.
I'm not saying there's a definitive right answer, but I'm saying you cannot blast me for putting South Carolina ahead of Kentucky based on what happened 3 weeks ago. No, sir, I'm not letting
3
that
weeks
not
ago.
in this house.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and what was Kentucky doing 2 weeks ago?
What else happened 3 weeks ago? Let's see. What else happened 3 weeks ago? Tennessee lost to South Carolina at home 3 weeks ago. Where'd you have Tennessee this week?
Well, we're always
this is why I love and hate power rankings at the same time. There are so many different ways you can just completely push this thing towards your own narrative, and we all do it. Look.
Not you, of course.
I would never do that. Again, South Carolina is still number 1 in my opinion. Just like Missouri is still number 1. There's a tie. for that one. I'll get to my
That
other
means
number one.
Max voted South Carolina like 17th out of 14.
I don't blame it on Max. He didn't do that. But I'm just going to
South
tell
Carolina
you.
up at 6. That's that. If Blake voted him number 1, then I'm doing the math on it.
I voted him number 1 also. I don't know how this math worked out.
Well,
Okay,
there's a lot of other people that vote in our poll. There's like 15 other people. We just haven't. We don't tell you who they are.
Votes.
But look, South Carolina's coming off a bad week. They lost by 40. They lost at home in a game they shouldn't have lost. And so, because of what teams did in front of them, because Kentucky won at Auburn, South Carolina lost by 40 at Auburn. That's just one part of the equation, right? So I can understand why they fall here. It's just a bad week. You flush it. You try to move on to the next one. But as we said, the problem for South Carolina, now they got to go on the road twice again at Ole Miss and at A&M. So it was just a brutal week for the Gamecocks. And, yeah, I want to see how they respond. That's what I'll say about them. For Kentucky, they're at 5. Let's just go ahead and we got to speed up here. Florida's at 4, okay? And so, Chris, I'll let you explain why you have Florida at 4. And Max also, I think, has a great point about Florida too and why they have moved up to the spot. But quickly on Kentucky. I said I think you have to reward Kentucky for what they've done in the past 2 games, which is finally play defense, and then they went on the road and won by double digits in a place that everybody has just gotten obliterated.
No one's
done that. And then, so yes, like you said, recency bias matters a little bit. It's the overall picture. I get it, but like you can at least now put it together. I said in the reaction video on Saturday, this is now like a trend for Kentucky. Back to back. It's not just one game, like it's 2 games now where they played defense. And so I don't know. These 3 teams here, I had no idea what order to put them in. I wouldn't be that upset with any order with these 3, but I do think you have to knock South Carolina losing the way they did at Auburn and then losing a home game against the team that is number 10 in our rankings and was number 11 last week. So I don't know. It's not a great science, but yeah. And you have to reward Florida for what they've done over the past month. So,
all right, I'll give you my justification.
Make it quick.
Not long ago, Kentucky fell in a well. Unconscious. They had to call Lassie in to go bark and tell him where to find the wild.
You're just morbid.
The cats have climbed out of the well. They're up to the edge and they've got their hands up and they're peering over. But because they fell in the well, they had to climb to get out of.
What?
And that is why I've got the Florida Gators ahead of them, because Florida's just playing lights out against anybody and everybody.
A well is the reason why you got.
Did. Yes, the well. Kentucky fell in the well and was unconscious for a few minutes there.
Well, so what did they do against Auburn?
They're conscious now. They're climbing out of that well. I mean, they climbed 100 feet out of that well Saturday, but they still got their feet dangling down on the edge of it.
All right, fair enough.
One team that hasn't fallen into a well has been Florida. This team is playing out of their minds. While, yes, they have some close calls, maybe a little 2-point game against LSU, had a comeback against Georgia. But listen, this team has only lost 1 game in the last 4.5 weeks. And that was a 1-point loss on the road at Texas A&M in a game where Tyrese Radford almost touches 30 points. Teams are losing. This team is not losing. We've been talking about the talent. The rebounding has not gone anywhere, probably even improved. And now they got to go to Alabama, and they're probably going to be close to a double-digit underdog, probably up near 7, 8, 9. But then they get Vanderbilt, Missouri, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt again. So, I mean, this team has got a path to getting double-digit SEC wins. I see it. And I think we rewarded them in the power rankings. I mean, they're winning games. 2 OT wins. They're finding ways to win close games. We can knock them for being close. We can say they're not blowing teams out, but you also have to kind of recognize they're finding ways to win games. They've got guards that can game manage late in shot clock situations. I like the Gators.
Next.
Let's see what we got here to talk about. The Auburn Tigers are at number 3. This was an interesting debate. Jalen Williams being out, sure. It feels like Auburn, they're not going to be the team they were probably with him for at least a couple weeks. But it it's still hard to justify moving them below, I think, the other teams, even though some people are going to say, well, Florida just whacked Auburn, threw them in the well, I guess, as Chris would say. Kentucky did the same thing. But I guess Auburn had built up enough goodwill up until those games that they still stay here by virtue of the 40-point win over South Carolina and the 18-point win over Alabama. So it's like it all kind of evens out for Auburn, I suppose. But I'm just going to say I don't know with this. I mean, again, we can't just go on one game head-to-head because then you can say, well, Florida and Kentucky should be ranked at Auburn. But it's the overall body of work, and they've still been so dominant outside of just now what's happened in these two of the last three. But they did beat South Carolina by 40, and they kind of blew out Alabama. So anyways, Auburn's at 3. They're just kind of stuck here for right now, but hopefully they don't go in reverse.
Real quick, this is why Auburn's not in my top 2. And it's been what Blake, you've been all over it really since they went on their first run. Auburn against Florida, 3 of 17 from 3. Auburn against Kentucky, 4 of 22 from 3. When they lose games, that's what happens, and it's been a trend now. So
Auburn's last 4 games: an 18-point win over Alabama at home, a 16-point loss at Florida in which it was down 29, a 40-point win over South Carolina team nobody was beating at the time, and an 11-point loss to a Kentucky team in which it scored 59 points against a Kentucky team that a week ago was not defending the 3 of us. I'm sure there have been more bizarre 4-game stretches in SEC basketball history, but I cannot think of one right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
All right. And now we get to the great debate of 2024. Who should be the number 1 team in the Southeastern 14 power rankings for this week? Finally, we are able to take Chris aside and say, Chris, we have something to say. All right. We appreciate your voting this particular team at number 1, but it's time to get serious. Okay. It's time to get real. It's time to get real about who should really be number 1 in the power rankings this week. And therefore, Chris, you were outvoted this week at the number 1 spot. And I really want to see why you think this is so clear cut. That's why I want to make sure we had at least 5 minutes here, because I want you to tell me why this is so clear cut that your team should be number 1 and the team that Max and I voted number 1 should be number 2. All right? And if you don't know by now who we're talking about, Max and I were as high on this Tennessee team as anybody coming into the season.
So high.
But Chris is, for some reason, not seeing what we're seeing with the number 1 team this week, which I think is the first time Alabama has been number 1 in our power rankings. Right? I think that's right, Max. I don't think they've been number 1. I think this is it.
Either the first or just the second.
No, I think it's the first time.
I think it's the first.
I'm pretty sure. So, Chris, we're going to give you the floor for a second to explain why you think Tennessee is the clear-cut number 1 in our power rankings.
Well, first of all, I do not take responsibility for the actions of my partners. They stand on their own here. Number 2, I like my teams to play on both sides of the 4.
Oh, God. Okay.
And
here we go. I knew it. I knew that was going to be it.
Have trouble. Yeah, and you guys made fun of me for calling out Kentucky's defense like a month ago. And then what happened?
They heard you.
That's right.
Chris, that was a month ago. We are 2 months into the season, and Alabama is 10-2 in the SEC and has beaten all 3 of the teams that Tennessee has lost to. Alabama went on the road, beat Mississippi State on the road.
Who did Alabama not beat? And let me just jog your memory. The score
it's
was
1 game. We just
you asked for my reasons. I'm giving you my reasons.
Okay.
Is Alabama the
got
best
you.
offensive team in the country? Yeah, I think so. Is Tennessee a good team offensively? Yes, I think so. Is Alabama a good team defensively? Maybe for 5 minutes at a time, here and there. They're not awful, but Tennessee can be elite defensively. I just like Tennessee's balance on both ends of the floor. All joking aside, you have that and the final score. Your Honor, my clients have made a huge mistake. Please forgive them for what they've done.
Okay. All right. What was the score with Tennessee at Mississippi State?
Who cares? That's not relevant to this debate.
Okay. What was the score of Tennessee against South Carolina? At home in Knoxville.
I plead the fifth.
Tennessee against Texas A&M. What was the score?
I don't know.
Okay, so there's 3 games. So you're telling me the one game that Tennessee beat Alabama is the only reason they should be ahead of Alabama?
Your Honor, head-to-head.
When both teams have played 25 games, that
Judge
one
Judy,
game.
what's going on here?
That one game, Max, right? Is that what Judge Judy's saying? The one game should decide the victor in the power rankings this week. We're just going to completely ignore that Alabama has just done what they've done. We're just going to ignore it.
Alabama has lost 2 games in the SEC. Both were on the road against a top 10 KenPom team. Those are the only losses they have. Now, Chris, I'm going to offer a little bit of a rebuttal on your defensive knock on Alabama here.
Uh-huh.
In conference play, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Georgia, these tough defensive teams normally. Alabama's
Give it to him, Max.
All of them.
Judge Judy, he got to you first, didn't he? That's what happened. Let's just be honest about this.
Ranks number 4 in the SEC.
4 horsemen. Throw up the 4 horsemen
8.
sign. All you wrestling fans.
Defend.
4 horsemen.
These guys defend. I like the Tide. They don't lose games they're not supposed to lose. The only 2 games they've lost were ones that even the fan base would come out and tell you, yeah, we're probably not winning this game. Those are the only 2 they've lost. And now they get a home game against a hot Florida team, and they're going to be projected to win by like 8 points. So it's time, as Blake likes to say. It's time to buy in on the Tide.
We know what's going to happen. Florida's going to go in there and score 105 on Alabama, and they are toast. Like, they are done. They are done for. Tennessee fans, listen, we're having fun with this. I got Tennessee going to the Final Four. I don't need a bracket. Forget the what do they call Rick Barnes in March? I don't even care what the phrase is. I'm going to call him a champion this year. I'm all in on the Vols, but we're just having fun with Chris this week.
Yeah.
1A, 1B now. We're back to 1A, 1B.
We are.
Okay? The Vols, all in. They're just number 2 in my rankings this week.
Judge Judy, you need to take some time and examine your conscience for what's happened here.
Now, look, here's what's going to happen. Tennessee plays Missouri on Tuesday. They're going to go win by 40, and Alabama's going to play Florida, a much tougher opponent. They're going to lose probably, and Chris going to come back taking his victory lap as he always does. That's okay. We're having fun this week.
Yeah.
Alabama.
And also, two really good teams. They go about it differently. It does make for some fun. And these are a little shorter than normal because yours truly has to do a radio hit here. So
in Tuscaloosa, I believe, to explain himself to the faithful. Okay.
Not quite. All right. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out.
I bet you
we're
are.
having fun with it one way or the other. And I hope you guys are here for it. Best way to do that, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. That helps on analytics. We take our basketball seriously. We do not take ourselves too seriously. Hope you don't either.
They
For
don't.
Max Barr and Blake Lovell.
They don't anymore. Trust me. They don't.
Not after that. I'm Chris Lee. I think we're still Southeastern 14 presented by Bet Online. We'll see you soon.